completely waiving it, and who cares if it comes in under, you have the cash to pay what you said you were gonna pay. It doesn't matter what your loan is based off of. That is super risky. Do some soul searching to find if that's the option for you. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica Dorsey, and I am a real estate agent in Windsor, Colorado. Today, we're continuing on with my video series called Dear God, It's Me, a Millennial Who Just Wants to Buy a Fucking House. And I thought of a few more tips that I wanted to share with you guys. So we are going to continue on with some of my top tips to get your offer accepted in this crazy market. And stay tuned to the end because I'm going to give a quick little bonus tip for you. So tip number 1 of this video is use a local lender. Using a local lender has many advantages to you. 1, they are going to know the state laws a lot better than some of these big banks or mortgage companies will. And not to say that banks and mortgage companies aren't awesome people who don't have great products, but sometimes they're out in California and you're buying in Colorado and they don't know exactly the laws as far as what a seller is allowed to give in a seller concession moment. So using a local lender, that is going to be awesome because they will know the laws. Number 2 is that they are going to be a little bit more communicative. They tend to be smaller companies that are more personal. So if you're a first-time home buyer and need a little bit of hand-holding, going with a local lender is going to put your mind at ease most of the time. Also, a local lender will most likely know your agent or the listing agent or know of them. You know, it's a small world after all. And that will help getting your offer accepted when a listing agent can see, this is a lender that I've used in the past. He was really great. He got the loan closed on time. He was awesome to work with. This is a good offer. This is a good lender. So I would suggest if you have the option, use a local lender. Tip number 2, see if you can find out the seller's motivation for selling. This is kind of your agent's job. And I spoke about in my last video how your agent should be calling the listing agent to see if there's other offers in play. Within that same phone conversation, they should be talking about what terms the seller is looking for. Do they need to move really quickly because they're starting a new job and their house needs to sell now so that they can go? Great, you know that. You can offer a quicker close date if you can. Do they need a rent back situation because they know that they need to sell their house first so they're not contingent on another house that they want to buy, but they might need 60 days in order to go and find that house and close on it? Awesome. You can offer either an extended closing period or a rent back situation. Knowing what those sellers' motivations are for selling is going to really help you dictate a perfect offer to them so that price and terms and everything looks great and they'll accept your offer. Tip number 3 is offer more earnest money. Earnest money is that deposit that you need to get into. Here it's the title companies that hold on to our earnest monies, but whoever it is that's holding on to it, you have 72 hours to deliver that check. Within the contract, you're telling the sellers how much earnest money you're going to be giving. Usually there's stipulations within the listing of how much is minimum, so pay attention to that. Let's say the minimum earnest money is $3,000. Earnest money tends to run between about 1% of the purchase price. So if you're gonna give a little bit more than that, you could double it. And that would show the sellers that you're serious about buying the house, you're putting this money up front. Know ultimately that earnest money is pretty easy to get back if things go wrong within the transaction, as long as you haven't made it non-refundable. So I spoke about that in my last video. So if you're curious about making your money non-refundable and the tactics and risks behind that, check out that. But here it's pretty easy if things go sideways that you can get your earnest money back. And if things continue on, awesome, because that goes towards your closing costs. Tip number 4, appraisal gap coverage. I would say the 2 main stressors when you are under contract on a house are the inspection period and the appraisal period. Right now, appraisal period is taking the trophy as far as stressing everyone out because homes are listed pretty high, they're getting under contract for over that list price, and people are worried to death that things aren't going to appraise. Mostly because sellers are worried that it's going to underappraise and you are going to walk away from the transaction or renegotiate to a lower price. You're worried it's going to underappraise because your loan is based off the lower values of the sale price or the appraisal price. So if you're contracted at $400,000 and that appraisal comes in at $350,000, that's what your loan is based off of. So that's a scary situation. Appraisal is stressful for everyone. Agents are also stressed because if it comes in low, then we need to start talking to the appraiser and doing comps and doing all of that jazz. So everyone is kind of in a twit until the appraisal period passes. So a way to alleviate some stress is to offer a gap coverage. So I've seen this work with something as low as $1,000 to completely waiving it, and who cares if it comes in under, you have the cash to pay what you said you were going to pay. It doesn't matter what your loan is based off of. That is super risky. Do some soul searching to find if that's the option for you. But if you have some extra cash on hand, if you're a little bit more liquid, adding a little bit amount of appraisal gap coverage will help put the seller's mind at ease and show that you are confident in finishing the transaction and going all the way to the closing table. So if the house is listed at $400,000 and you put in an offer at $400,000 with $3,000 appraisal gap coverage, then the appraiser comes out and says, nope, this house is only worth $350,000. Well, that is a significant difference. So normally you could walk away, you could renegotiate because your loan is only going to be based off of $350,000. But you've put in your offer that you will give $3,000 to an appraisal gap coverage. So that means you're going to pay that $3,000, but your loan is still only going to be based off of the $350,000, and the sales price is going to be $353,000. It just knocks right down, appraisal gap coverage, $353,000. So it is helpful in this market to add some appraisal gap coverage, but please talk with your agent and your lender about what that means in your situation if an appraisal were to come in low. Now, your agent needs to stipulate the sales price in there so that if it comes in and way over appraises, you're not paying the over appraisal plus the $3,000. So they know the technical wording for that. You can remind them to make sure that that's in your contract. Tip number 5 is it's all about the net, the seller's net. So if you go in and you're giving an offer that's over list price, but then you're coming back with wanting seller concessions to help you get to the closing table, ultimately that's chipping away at the seller's net price. So if you don't need seller concessions, don't ask for them. If you don't need closing costs paid by the sellers, don't ask for them. Because in this market, there's people who don't need the seller's help with that. And ultimately, the seller is going to choose that offer because their end game is higher. So just keep in mind that all of this is about how much the seller is netting. And that's after their mortgage is paid back, after they've paid their agent and your agent, all of that, if they have any tax liens or any liens at all. It comes down to ultimately what the seller is going to walk away with. So if you can avoid asking for concessions and closing costs, do. And my bonus tip for today is get your offer in early. A tactic that we've been seeing really pay off in this market is to be one of the first people to see that house, write your offer, and give a quick deadline. This then will force the seller to either accept or reject your offer before the open house on the weekend or before your weekend where you have some other houses that you're interested in. If you're going to go this tactic, your offer better be strong. You cannot be first in with a really tight deadline of acceptance and have like a weak ass offer. That's going to be insulting. It's going to piss everyone off. Don't do it. If you love this house, be the first one in, strong offer, tight deadline, and kind of force their hand a little bit to accept yours. And if you gave everything you could in that initial offer and they're still like, no, we're going to wait for the weekend, ultimately, the seller is trying to induce a bidding war. But if you're like, no, we're not going to get into a bidding war, this is my best offer, take it or leave it, and you've decided your magic number, which if you don't know how to decide your magic number, watch my video prior to this where I kind of explain how to go about that, then you can be confident that you've done everything you can to get this house, and then your weekend is free to continue searching if they say no. All right, everybody, so those are some of my top tips between this video and the last video in order to get your offer accepted. Use one, use all, and I hope that your agent gives you a call, that your offer has been accepted, and you're on your way to being a homeowner. If you have any questions, please comment below, shoot me a text or call me. My number's in the description, or send me an email at homeagain@jessicadorsey.com. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great day.